Welcome everybody to Wakey, Echoes of the Esoteric. Yeah, we're live. Okay, double checking myself. I'm like, are we live? Aren't we live? Okay, so S here. S here. Founder and owner of the Akashic Kitchen, alongside Jenica Haywood, co-host, the beautiful Jen.
Hello.
So we've just popped on live with not a lot of discussion about what we're going to discuss tonight. But I have an idea. So I'm sharing that with all of you now that Jen has no idea what we're about to talk about. So this will be great. So we have begun a journey. We have begun a journey in exercising self-control. This is always interesting in the work because when you attempt to exercise self-control, it shows you the level of your being. A lot of people don't understand this and really what it means. And so I felt like tonight in particular, it would be really fun to just like rewind back to the beginning of this work and just volley this back and forth here. You're gonna be right in the swing of what I'm bringing forward here in no time flat. So you've just entered the work. You've heard about the idea that there is more. There is deeper spiritual work and a higher level of consciousness that you can achieve. I know when I heard that, I thought, what? Are you kidding? Really? Seriously? Like there's more? And the biggest hindrance to doing this work is thinking that you're already very evolved and operating at a super high level of consciousness, right? So when introducing people to second level psychological work, it's always really fun to give the test of like, you're a super spiritual person. You've got all this control over yourself. Then this should be easy for you, right? Oh, you're good. Like everything, you have full control over yourself. Really, you do? Okay, try this then. So enter the lie test, right?
Yeah.
Enter the lie test where you spend, let's give it 21 days. We'll never make it even a third of the way, right?
I was gonna say
We'll never make it
not
even
even
a third
close.
of the way. But the lie test is this in your face, literal real time test that you walk yourself through, where you endeavor to spend 21 days in full control of your throat chakra. Can you control what you say? Let's even just take thoughts off the table. Okay. Can you control what you say? Can you spend 21 full days never telling a lie? Never telling a white lie, never lying to your best friend about how she looks in her new skirt, never lying to your boss about anything ever, never lying to yourself about what it is that you need to do right now and then not doing it. Never mind what you need to do 4 days from now and then not making that happen either. No embellishments, no telling a story and twisting it in your favor. No telling other people's stories because that doesn't belong to you. So for you, that's a lie. Oh man, we could
Accentuating the truth. I guess
yes,
that's embellishment, but
yeah.
accentuating anything. Yeah.
Could you do it? What's interesting is that when we take on this kind of an embodiment test, oh man, the first thing it does is show you how very little control you have over your own body, over your own centers of consciousness, in a way that, man, you can think all day long. Yeah, I got that. That's easy. And next thing you know, your emotional center has taken over for your brain and you're saying some shit that doesn't belong to you or making yourself sound like you have accomplished more than you really did for the people you're talking to. Like there could be so many different ways that this would show up. And 9 times out of 10, it's like one of those catches in hindsight. You'll do it and then you'll realize you did it after it's done. Because these are such ingrained parts of your being that there's no awareness around it. There really is no awareness around it to be able to control yourself in that way.
No, and I would even say that, like, even prior to like catching yourself in the aftermath, like even just defining lying and seeing what it is and how it shows up in your world is like its own level of
Yeah.
difficulty in a way. Like it takes some effort to be like, not just kind of throw that to the side like I did. I'm like, I'm not a lie. Like, I don't lie. I don't understand the point in it. It
Who,
makes
me?
no sense to
Yeah.
me. Yeah, yeah. And it wasn't like that thing of like, oh, I never lie. I hate liars. No,
Right.
no. I literally just genuinely was like, I don't get the point of lying, therefore I don't do it. And then after redefining and figuring out what truly what lying is, it was like, oh shit. I lie to myself all the time about the fact that I don't lie.
It's wild.
Play with it. Play with it. Don't get all, wrapped up in this, your egotistical, I never lie.
Yeah,
You
you do
do.
all the time.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do all the time. Like
100%.
every other person,
Mm-hmm.
every other ordinary person on the planet.
It's okay. It's all right. Just see it. Just allow that to be true, to be possible.
This idea of the centers and the way that they overstep their boundaries. It's not even that they're overstepping their boundaries because they're really doing their job, working for each other. That's what the lower centers do until they're unified. They like are all the time trying to help each other out. Like, here you go. Here's a little energy from over here. Here's a little energy from over here. But it's funny, even if you take let's play with this a little bit, because if we were to take the lying thing off the table, right? What about a person believing that they could just remember to do something every day at the same time for 21 days?
Mm.
Like look at their hand, look at the palm of their hand for 5 seconds at noon every day for 21 days. Could you remember
Without
that?
like an alarm, without without outside help.
No reminders.
Mm-mm. Or try it to not do something that is a part of your regular routine for 21 days.
Yeah.
That one can be even more rough.
This whole idea of dysfunctional centers. Oh, this could just go so many different directions. One of the things that's really alive for me right now is this awareness of the way that those dysfunctional centers leak energy. There's no force in that individual. That's the opposite of leaked energy, right? And there is this wave in the spiritual community as of right now, the exoteric spiritual community, with removing negative emotions. This has really come to the surface like big, really in a very big way over the last decade, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's been around for a while, but like this surge of remove the negative energy, it plays hand in hand with this idea that we really have no control over ourselves. You don't have any control over yourself, and so therefore you have no control over all of the many various diverse and sundry ways you are going to continue to leak energy through just total dysfunction, negative emotion being one of the elements on that list. The inability to step into a higher perspective that hasn't yet been cultivated because you don't know that it's possible. And thwart or stifle the perspective that allows you to become angry for XYZ. Never mind what happens on the other side of that, where you know, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, the sorrow, the grief, like all of what we would call the lower vibrational emotions. That's like a hot phrase, right? Lower vibrational emotions. All of that, you 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 can step away from that. You can step away from the storyline that allows that to be front and center in your experience. What are you identified with that's bringing that in? There's so many words surrounding this that start to convolute it a little bit if you're not at all familiar with the work.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify that by stepping away from that, it is in no way the pouring love and light into things.
Mm-mm.
Every time that you get frustrated or judgmental, like it's okay because there's a purpose. That's not how you actually master this. That's not how you actually overcome it. There's not a squashing of it. There's a and training yourself to essentially herd cats. Like that's what it seems like to me. Like really, if you decide to do either of these exercises of just like, not lying, or pick something to do every day for 21 days, or not do put your each sock and shoe on, individually instead of doing socks and shoes, it doesn't matter. If you walk yourself through that exercise, you'll learn really quickly how fast you get distracted, how quickly your emotions do this, how many excuses come in to propel you along into something different. Tell yourself, I'm going to get up at a certain time in the morning, and watch how quick the morning rolls around and you're not doing that, or whatever. And there's no possible way to love and light your way out of that, or to sidestep it with love and light. The only way to do anything with that is to recognize it's like herding cats. There's a million different directions going on inside of you at all times. To even define or recognize being identified, like that even just takes a step back to see how many areas you show up in different ways as different people with different, I'm going to dress this certain way, or I'm not going to talk that certain way in different crowds. Like there's so many different expressions of ourself that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking about the herding cats and how just absurd it is.
Well, we don't have, at least not in the West, we don't have this undeniable understanding of the inner world being a conglomeration was the word that came through, like a conglomeration of eyes, a conglomeration of versions of ourselves that have all been curated through our experience with the outside world in a way that has definitely benefited us to some degree and been very easy to some degree. And the programming around that is like such that it makes it hard to recognize that that's not who you are in all of those instances, that you're just a really very multifaceted human.
Yeah, and that it is showing up differently for specific reasons. And that if you were truly unified, if you were truly a highly evolved spiritual being, you would show up uniformly. I don't want to say in the same way, because there is a level of being able to choose exactly how you show up and why, and fully conscious of it, as opposed to in response to. But again, you can show up and choose to not lie, put on your socks and shoes in a certain way at any given time, wake up at a certain time, not express negatively. Like You can choose that and actually follow through for any amount of time
Yeah.
if you're truly evolved to the extent that I think a lot of us thought thought I was or think we are.
Yeah. That idea of objective consciousness being such a state that you would ask yourself a question, could be in regard to anything, business, moving forward with a project, could be anything, and that the answer you get is it. There's no recourse, there's no volleying back and forth, second guessing yourself. Ask, response, very objectively. Okay, that's it.
So clear, so concise.
Without the volley, without the volley back and forth between opposites.
And what ifs and who knows and got to prepare here and protect there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When's the right time?
I love that one. That's the greatest. It's such a I don't know, crutch. Oh, when the time is right.
It's a huge crutch I've used to avoid doing uncomfortable things so that I can continue lying to myself and saying, I'm sick of this. I want to change this. Oh, but somebody's birthday party's around the corner. Oh, but, as soon as it starts getting warmer,
When the
whatever
time.
it is.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Excuses are a big part of that aspect of unification. That's the kind of thing that is wiped away. And I want to kind of even backtrack because the idea of negative emotions and really putting, as my grandma would say, putting the kibosh on those, maybe sixing them to some degree. It's not that you are no longer feeling, it's not that you are no longer experiencing or engaging with life in a way where, you know, where things that other people would consider bad aren't happening. It's just that your perspective on them is objective and you have an understanding of the way that life works and the laws that govern it. And you have come to a reconciliation point of viewing everything that happens to you as necessary for you. And there isn't there's not that same let's call it lower level anger, right? Not that there's a higher level anger. That's not at all what I'm saying, but it's a transformation that takes place in perspective that alchemizes what would have been that negative emotion into fuel for the higher perspective. And it's all an inner alchemy. It's all an inner process that takes place where you're truly taking in new information to rebuild your psychology, to reformulate or reframe your perspective on what reality is in such a way that it permeates the inner and outer world and your perspective of both.
Yeah, there's no need to try and equalize or validate or explain your emotions away, where it's like, well, God has a plan, so I guess I'll just suffer here. It's not,
Right.
there's not a need to try and pull in something positive to try and equalize what is creating a negative emotion. Instead, you just see, yeah, I mean, you said it very beautifully. You see the higher echelon view. You understand it to a degree that it's not something you have to contend with. You utilize it. Instead of having to express it to get rid of it because there's so much being built up in your being and there's oh, I'm just so frustrated, or so and so is just drive me crazy.
Yeah.
That there's not a buildup. In fact, a lot of the times doesn't even begin. Um,
Mm-mm.
outside things stop annoying you.
That really is just, it's front and center, that understanding for anyone who is trying to wrap their mind around it or still curious about it. You know, this is something that we've talked about extensively inside the Akashic Kitchen. We've done master classes, we've done, you know, there's explanation around it, but there's still that question of like, what do you mean? What do you mean don't feel negative emotion? No, don't express negative emotion, and utilize it differently from the inside through a perspective that is cultivated to alchemize it, to not identify with it, to see it and the complete opposite and hold them both in your awareness of both of them in a way that keeps you from being it. You're not going to observe it and be it at the same time. I had someone tell me once, that's so dumb. Telling people not to express negative emotion. This is something that second level teachings are faced with. That perspective, that awareness. And it's okay. It's just hard to digest if there is no more after that, right? No more explanation, no more. There has to be a curiosity on the part of the person who's encountering it, right? But I feel like it's helpful to have that shift in understanding around how that's even possible.
Yeah.
How is it even possible? And why not just remove? Why not just remove the trapped energy? Well, the energy is trapped from dysfunction of the centers. It's like if your boat was sinking. I've used this before, but I love it. It's such a great analogy. If your boat's sinking and you've identified 2 or 3 leaks, you know the leaks are there. You can see the water shooting out, and it's like you got a patch kit in one hand and a bucket in the other. You're probably going to bail some water out, but are you going to spend all your time bailing the water out and just completely disregard the patch kit? I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense. You're just going to be bailing water out of your boat forever. That's not sustainable. It's not sustainable once you know there's a patch kit. Once you've realized on the spiritual journey, there is this level beyond what you currently know, where information is available that peers more deeply into the inner world than anything else you've ever traversed, and you have eyes on it. Oh, this is how it all happens. This is how these centers, these wheels inside of us work for each other and create dysfunction. And because there's dysfunction and this isn't a unified inner world with a channel that flows freely, there's going to be energy leaking, literally. Everything is not in its right place yet. Everything is not working efficiently yet. You can't tell yourself, don't lie, and actually do it. There's dysfunction present. There's a lack of control present. Unify those centers, and the dysfunction or the leaks in the boat, they seal. It's an interesting conversation to have. And when people are ready to hear it, they'll come looking for it. It's not for everyone. It truly isn't.
No, and depending on where you are in your journey, you could easily be, and many of you will be, absolutely repulsed by and completely disagree with all of this.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. It's not for everybody, like you said, and there really does have to be a huge willingness and a recognition of really that this, peering deeper into the inner world and that there is another layer. It's not just, handling your traumas and triggers, and the, better you get at that, then the better you can navigate life, and that's the epitome. For some people it is, but that's there is another layer.
Yeah. I can't imagine I mean, I understand the fallout. There's massive fallout with stifling a trigger, attempting to change a habit without really changing your level of being. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. So, for anyone who is watching this and feeling like, what the fuck? Seed planted, come back later when these cycles continue to repeat, because they will. I've been through it. You've been through it. Literally everyone who comes into this work has been through it. And for me, second level spiritual teachings are like, they're almost kind of, this is going to be a weird analogy, just putting that out there. They're almost kind of like holistic healthcare in what, a decade ago, 2, maybe. Right? Where it's becoming more familiar now. Not that the whole world's doing it, because they're certainly not, and that's not ever going to be the case. But it has surfaced in a way that there's a little more familiarity to it. It's not so new. It's not so weird. Not that this is new and weird, but in any event.
It's not like fought against so abruptly and quickly. It's not, there's not so much fear and like how dare you even suggest that there's something that is
Right.
that holds
An
value and
alternative,
wisdom and
a better way.
something. hmm We're not going to risk any of this because this path is proven.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
the
similarly.
parallel that I wanted to kind of draw was this aspect of like, in healthcare, in seeking alignment with the physical body, programming on the planet at this time in the human story is such that most people lean toward big pharma, the majority, right? But if you've been sick for long enough, and if you've tried everything, and if you still can't get right, and you just know that there's got to be some kind of an answer out there, you might start looking in other departments. And this is sort of that same buffet laid before you in the spiritual world. When you have been through it all, you think you know it all, you've learned all of these modalities, you've maybe even found some that are like, for a while, seem to be the one, like the answer, right? And then lo and behold, even amidst those modalities and all of that knowledge, the patterns come back in, the cycles come back in. We really don't have control over ourselves. We really can't achieve what we thought we could. We had massive success in our business and we can't duplicate it. Or we thought we had healed that trauma like, what, 10 years ago? I can't believe that this doesn't even make sense. Now I'm dealing with this again. It's just the nature of level 2, truly. That you are ready for an arcane teaching that predates everything you already knew or thought you knew. And it's this phenomenon of, well, the magnetic center is at the root of all of it, but really just this idea that like there's more, and this shit is not working. As much as I love it all, it's not working. It's not delivering the answers that I'm seeking. And I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever is next. And then boom. It's like, here you go. Here's what's next. You asked in such a way that you were sure it was available, despite what all of the cues of the outside world tell you is true. Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah.
You have anything else you want to add tonight?
No, no.
No.
So much of this is so, there's so much to sit with. And it's, beautifully said. And I mean, the invitation is clear, it's open, the the door is unlocked. like, like you just have to twist the knob and open it. Your world will be rocked. But if you're looking for some actual long-term lasting, not only just changes to what you've been experiencing and patterns and habits and triggers and, you know, emotional chaos at times, whatever it is, this holds that. And also an entire other world of being able to truly experience life that's like, truly experience life. Like, really, not just struggle with it, not just fight with it, not just hope for something amazing, but practice gratitude for what you have and look at where you've come from. But I mean a real partnership with life.
Oh, it's the epitome of co-creation.
Hmm. I was gonna use that word, and I know
I
that that's
know it's
such a
just such a
hot word.
it's just such a little hot word. I said it though.
It is,
Oh,
but it's true. Like like truly, what co-creation is, we have
yeah.
heavily misunderstood.
Yeah. I was even just going to go as far as to say, like, if you have not mastered yourself, you are not co-creating. Not really.
No,
Mm-mm.
and that
If
may
you
not
still
even
have
make any
conflicting
sense without
wills,
looking at yourself.
yes, yes. You can't control that fucking vessel you're in or any of the facets of it. That's
Life
not
is,
co-creation.
yeah,
That's
no,
accident. That's what that is. That's
cause and
accident.
effect, accident, life acting on you, you responding to it.
Yeah.
To actually co-create requires an actual single, like,
Will.
direction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one, just one
one.
will, not a bunch
So
of wills, not a bunch of wills. Like, come on. Anybody who's watching this has had a day where you've woken up in the morning and been like, okay, today's the day. I'm starting it, and then by noon you're like, oh fuck, tomorrow is tomorrow the day. Is tomorrow
you're
the
at
day?
halfway. This part doesn't count.
It doesn't even matter what it is. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It is the principle behind that concept of conflicting wills. This is what I'm going to do. I have to. Okay. I have to next week. I have to. I have to. I have to later, right? Like to not have a mastery over your intellectual processes, your emotional responses, to not have mastery over those will have you bouncing all over your environment. It will have you bouncing all over in your inner world, swinging back and forth between moments of praise and approval and moments of, grief and letdown, and it's that constant swing that keeps you from being centered. That simplifies it a bit, but
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it and personify life or nature a little bit, what kind of a partner would it be choosing to co-create with? One that's all over the place and can't follow through on what they're saying, and any left, something coming out of left field will just knock them right off their feet. And it's like, I can't now. My life just went crazy, and
this thing
I'm just gonna have to
happened.
put this on hold.
Mhm.
Like, you yourself know what kind of a partner that you would choose. Like, stable, reliable, honorable, can follow through, has the same singular direction. It stands to reason that, you know, it's not the fact that if we could manifest anything we wanted, wouldn't that just be chaotic? That's not the reason that things don't show up in life. And that's not we're not co-creating until we can actually be stable within ourselves and not have anything from the outer world really take us off our center. It's
Yeah.
an exercise, to say the least.
Manifestation is another one of those level one understandings for anybody who, you know.
Yeah, I kind of
We'll
I
talk
kind of
about that
tossed
in like
that
an
one right in
upcoming.
there.
I know you did. We'll talk about that in an upcoming. That seems like a great topic we could touch on. Manifestation versus surrender, right?
That might be a really good one too
Mm-hmm.
like coincide with prayer, because I feel
Oh,
like manifesting and prayer are kind of same
you really want to
coin.
bring two hot topics together, manifestation and prayer. Let's just see if we can piss everybody off. That'd be great. We're
Well,
helping you guys
they're
vet yourselves. If you
the
can't, if you
same.
can't handle these conversations, there's not an entry point here.
No, but I mean they are the same premise. You
They
think
are.
you want something, so you funnel energy into it, and then you question why it's not happening and pity yourself. I That's just one rendition, but uh, whether you
Went
like
through
the
a
word
couple of pendulum
manifest or
swings.
prayer, they're the
Yeah,
same freaking thing.
you went through a couple of pendulum swings just in that simple sentence. It went like this. Um, yeah. Oh, that could be a real spicy one. I love
You
that idea.
know, I'm all for it, because in all reality, like if you're not here for at least allowing some questions, and you're right, like the work is not for you, because it flips your world upside down, and every step of the way you get to choose whether you're going to excuse and lie your way out of it, or open up to something more, something deeper, something beyond you, and surrender to that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not asking you to believe us because we know. This is a very boots on the ground kind of practice that will show you very quickly, if you open yourself to it and surrender. It will give you it will give you some hard evidence really quickly.
Oh, no doubt. That seems like a great place for an invitation, doesn't it? Now that we've pushed all your
Welcome.
fucking buttons, come on,
Join us.
come play. Come
You want to
join
go
us.
to Mexico?
Come join us. We'll be in Mexico in June,
Pushing
teaching
more buttons.
teaching people how to heal their core traumas. It'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Really though, that is that is the invitation. That is the invitation, is to come into deeper. I laugh, but like it's all psychological work, whether you're talking about core traumas. Can you heal core traumas other ways? Sure, you can. The psychological work is so in keeping with the second level teachings of the fourth way, and all of the psychological work that is rooted in that entire system, that they just go hand in hand, and they meet each other, they mesh and weave with each other, because of the psychological work, because of the approach, because of the connections to the way that we form when we come here to earth to incarnate here and have an experience and take in impressions and begin to uh we're not going to get into personality and essence and all of that stuff today, but like we take on a character as we grow up, and that character is a child, is not acclimated to the earth, is not understanding from a higher psychological perspective of the way that things work and operate here, and is still very much learning the context of this experience through the programming of others and all of their programming, and it just keeps on going, right? All of those influences and impressions that come in to build that character. So the psychological work guides you through a process of tapping back into that initial understanding and reframing it in a way that offers massive healing, because on the outside, having laid the groundwork and put down this beautiful foundation as an adult of a new reality that works a new way through whether it be through the laws or the cosmology and psychology. Those are going to play together. But there's so much information that comes in that allows you to begin to reframe reality and put that reframe into practice, which brings you to a new level of being. And all of that psychological work you now are embodying as an adult. So with that in tow, it's very simple then to revisit the formative process of your inner child and reframe the misunderstandings that have perpetuated the repeating patterns of trauma. It's incredible, incredible work. And through the psychological lens of the fourth way, it slips right into step, making it quick and easy. Not something that we have to continue in an endless loop, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not that we're never doing the work again. We're going to continue to do the work until we master ourselves, until we are fully unified. But we're familiar with it now. We know why it's happening. We know how to lay eyes on it and how to repair it, self-repair. So it's not like, what do I do? How do I
What
solve
is this?
problem? I thought I healed. You're not going to say that anymore. I thought I healed this. Why am I dealing with this again? Instead, it's like, oh, I see that and I know what to do. I know how to follow that issue. It may not even, is not going to the same root core trauma again.
This is why the psychological perspective is everything, because that literally just depicts an awareness that's greater than what was before, but it's not the awareness through duality. It's an awareness that is much higher, that can see both sides of the whole picture. And I don't know, I just feel like it beautifully depicts the process of changing your mind, of psychological expansion, which is expansion of awareness, which expands consciousness when worked with enough to bring it into your being. It's just beautiful. It really is. It's something that maybe on the outside looks really similar to stuff you've already done, but on the inside, it's very different. Because of these core, very nuanced but potent perspectives, lens, change of, again, just the groundwork of changing your psychology.
So everybody's invited. Join us in Aku Mall.
Yes, please. It'll be great.
We'll be there. All right, let's spit out some details here. We'll be there 18th to the 22nd. So this is across the solstice in the Yucatan. We will be seaside in a small village about an hour and a half from Cancun. So Cancun is your destination airport. This is going to be a 3-day process, walking you through a reframe and understanding around what trauma really is from a psychological vantage point, how it happens, why it happens. We really basically know when it happens. All of your trauma, your deep core traumas, have set a pattern inside of you by the time you're 9, usually before that. So reframing the understanding of what it is and educating around the process for removing core traumas. It's not a teacher training, but you will be experiencing this. And that opens into Oasis upon return from Mexico. Mexico will be focused on core healing and the experience of it alongside other core elements of the fourth way and core elements of physical healing through healing foods, DNA activation, things of this nature. And when I'm talking DNA activation, I'm not talking like frou-frou, sit in lotus and imagine your double helix. Like that's not, we can do that. I actually have a protocol for that. We can do that. And that's all fine and dandy, but I'm talking about something more tangible. where you're feeding your cells according to your genetic makeup. You are giving your cells their perfect cell food. And we're going to learn a little bit about what that looks like and how it happens and ways that we can support that process. So that experience comes to a close and then opens us up into Oasis. So double invitation, if you will. Oasis is launching the beginning of July. And this is a core trauma healing container focused on, again, the core of your process, your core traumas themselves and the process for addressing them, alongside food consumption and this aspect of DNA, really bringing them all together in a 12-week container that walks you through a deeper understanding of all three. Loving these as a pair, and the way that comes forward and just gently says, "Okay, come this way."
It's gonna be great.
Anything else you want to add
potent.
tonight? I think I asked you that once, and then we had some pretty cool stuff come up. Anything else?
No, I love it. Reach out at the Akashic Kitchen if you've got questions. Check out that page. Join us in Facebook. We always love questions. We always love, hey, you rocked my world. Not in a good way. Help me out.
What about this part? Yep.
What about this part?
Yep. We'll drop some links in the comments for you guys, and we'll see you next week.